Bump, bump,
Bump,
ba-da-dum, bump, bump.
bump.
Oh,
Lasers.
lasers.
We got
It's
some
pretty
lasers.
happy Bindi with lasers on a Tuesday morning. Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. I'm Marcus Grant with Greg Bergman and Parker Bell, and very glad to be joined on this Tuesday morning by Ben Brust of ESPN Milwaukee, our sister station out there in Wisconsin. Ben, appreciate. I was gonna say thanks for getting up early, but it's not as early for you as it is for us out here. But either way, thanks for joining us this morning.
No, very happy to join you. I wish it was in a different ending of the game one circumstances. I know who I'm talking with, but hopefully from an LA standpoint, traffic wasn't too bad at 5:30 in the morning whenever you guys were rolling in.
Yeah, you talked to Greg about that because I'll say this: the traffic from my kitchen to my garage was fantastic, so I had no problems there. But
yeah, it's raining here, Ben. So that's the only time of year that at 5:30, at 1:30, what doesn't matter what time, if it's raining, that is a slow go.
Everything,
no matter what you do,
everywhere in the world, it's like that. If rain comes and everyone feels like they don't know how to drive again.
Water from the sky. Oh no!
Oh no! What's going on? So yeah, wanted to bring Ben on, kind of get his thoughts on obviously not just last night the Dodgers hang on for a 2-1 win in Game 1 of the NLCS, but kind of what he foresees not just on the Dodger side, but the Brewers side as well for the remainder of the series. So I mean, first one, simple one, Ben, takeaways from last night from the Brewer perspective.
Blake Snell was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know where you start other than Blake Snell. I mean, he is as stone cold as a pitcher in the playoffs. I mean, he's been there before. He's pitched in a World Series. And it's one of those things where you saw the Mariners go 15 innings and go all the way out to Toronto and after that sort of long game hangover, make some noise. And so I was curious from an emotional standpoint after beating the Cubs and how much was built into Craig Counsell leaving Milwaukee to go into Chicago, the celebration there, what this game would be like. And I would probably say I don't think it could have gone much worse for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think everyone knows this, you guys included, right? The Dodgers bullpen is where you want to get to. And as that game was going on, I was like, we're not going to see the Dodger bullpen. Like, I was even shocked that they brought out Roki for the closing because Blake had no signs of slowing down. Everyone was guessing. Nobody had any feel for, he kept it out at the top of the zone. The changeups away from Snell against the righties were just like if there was a one hit to pitch, it might have been the first pitch in the zone. After that, he really didn't have to do anything crazy to get out of like these wild 3-2 counts with runners on. And so I'd say what's most frustrating is, so you see this Brewers jersey. It's not very often that you see someone wear a jersey and have
the manager
on it.
I got one.
You got a Roberts jersey?
I got a Roberts jersey. Roberts jersey, sure do.
So Pat Murphy's one of the most likable guys you could ever find in baseball. The way he carries himself, obviously, I don't know if you guys have seen all the things like, eating pancakes on the sideline and all that stuff, but it's more than that. He gets this team to go to war for 9 innings, every game, every at-bat, every pitch. And that's the thing that I was lacking the most of, like, there was no pressure on the Dodgers at all. All the pressure all game was on the Milwaukee Brewers because we did a watch along on ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube, and I'm not going to lie, there was somebody who was telling me to say Blake Snell's name, and he got to me that I just started yelling because I was so mad. But there was some infiltration where there was just not like. I love talking smack back to fans because that's what we do. It's like, have a little fun back and forth, but I wasn't having fun. There was nothing to have fun about. What was I supposed to say? Like, Blake Snell was dialing. But I think that 9th inning, and I hate even doing this from like it's momentum into game 2. I don't think the 9th inning is anything where I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to propel this team. I think it just shows who the team is. It doesn't matter what the situation. They still put themselves in a spot where they're able to have an inning where they grinded and actually put some pressure on the team. They started working the count, and it's a tough spot. I mean, when someone faces the minimum through 8, could you imagine being like, hey, you got to come in now and pitch perfect after watching a flawless masterclass from Blake Snell? So overall, it felt like I was watching 2 minutes of offense and 15 minutes of defense every inning, just from like a heartbeat and feel of the game standpoint. Obviously, it was a quicker playoff game than what we've been used to, seeing as many pitchers as we've seen throughout all the playoffs. But they got to put pressure on early in game 2 on Yamamoto. They absolutely. So Yamamoto, I feel like in the middle of the season, there was some times where obviously he hasn't gotten the run support the majority of the year from the Dodgers. But there were some times where he'd get his pitch count up a little bit, get pulled 4th, 5th inning. He has to get out of the game. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit too close of the same story for me. They have to find a way to put pressure on Yamamoto. Otherwise, I'm not looking forward to seeing what we saw from Snell part 2.
So my first part for me is it Alex Strauff that it's kept asking you to say his name? Say his name, Ben. Is that where Alex Strauff? Is that it?
He's made his way to ESPN LA.
No, it was a Dodger fan in the chat that was just bombarding me. It was a name that I couldn't say because it was spelled so wonky, but literally the Brewers were at bat and it would be like 2 outs, and he was reminding me that Snellzilla, which let's be honest is a horrible nickname.
That's
great
nickname. We go with what the nickname is.
I know. Look, I get it. You got to roll with it now. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it. I'm like, we can do better than that. But like, I wasn't gonna say Snellzilla. As much as I appreciate what he did, I was like, this is a 7-game series, and I'm just gonna lay down and be like, oh, Blake Snell is going to, dominate us today and hopefully next time we see them. So Alex Strofe produces our show. Now I can cut this and I can play it on our show. So I'm glad you got his name wrong and his ego down a little bit.
It says Strouf to me, so you can say Strouf if you'd like to.
Don't worry, texters, YouTubers, callers. It's Stroof, it's Stroff, it's Strauf. So this is perfect.
It's everything. But we're talking about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and while he did have a rough outing the last time, and really for like rough outing from his standards, which he only got into the 4th, he still didn't give up very much. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was the best pitcher on this staff. He was the guy that it was going to challenge Paul Skeens for the Cy Young for most of this year, and is still going to get votes on next to Paul Skeens. So we as Dodger fans feel really, really good about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. It just really depends on what he can do. Also, something he can do, he can go 115 pitches. They will let him, especially since he's going to get 5 days off between 2 and 6. So that means that you're going to have to see him where he can go 8 innings as well. So if he is on, he's a guy they're not going to pull him at 103 pitches like they did for Blake Snell, which I said last night, and I still believe was the complete wrong choice. But at the same time, it's going to be something that is going to be a little bit tougher for you to see. So is that the way that the Brewers look at it too? It's not about the starter. It's all about at what point do we get to this bullpen, because the bullpen is the soft spot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to get to the bullpen, but I think first and foremost, I mean, they just need to get guys on base, because they were last year and this year the fastest team on the base pads, and not necessarily leading the league in steals, but like when ball's in play, they put so much pressure on the defense that so many times teams that play the Brewers would get frustrated because they're like, how are they scoring all these runs on errors? And it's simply because when they 1 through 9, and they're not the sexiest names in the world. Joey Ortiz, the 9-hitter, hit a grand slam earlier in the year. He got benched the next day by Pat Murphy because he didn't like his approach at the plate in some of the balls he was swinging at. And like, he demands a certain respect from his players that even if you have a good game, you are out there to make it hell for 9 innings. Caleb Durbin, another guy that came in. I mean, this has been a wild year. From you got Priester, who came in on a trade. Nestor Cortez came in from the Devin Williams trade. He's obviously gone, but Caleb Durbin has sort of been a staple of a guy. And he said, if you play the Milwaukee Brewers, you have to be ready to go to war for 9 innings. And I feel like we weren't in war yesterday. We were just, outnumbered completely. Like it was a slaughter. And so obviously the scoreboard would say different, but I'm saying from it, when you go the minimum through 8, this team's not going to win if they're not putting pressure on the opposing starting pitcher, because that's how they win. They make every pitch feel like it's bigger than it is. And no pitch felt like Blake Snell had to get out of this, get out of that. It was just pure domination. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I'm really confident in the way that they're going to be able to attack Yamamoto. But that is why I wear the Pat Murphy jersey, because it's on to the next one. If I were to share my concerns, and I said this, I felt pretty confident about 5. 7 is tough when you look at the Dodgers and what they have from a starting pitching standpoint. Like they just have dogs. They have horses. You have Glass now ready to go as well. You never know when Shohei is going to be used and how long, if he has to be used in certain situations. Obviously, moving Roki to the closing spot has paid dividends, but you need to get Yamamoto out of the game, and it's got to be through getting the pitch count up, even if early on it's not manufacturing runs, so to speak. It's getting base runners. I don't care how. Like, as crazy as it sounds, I was like, somebody throw a damn bunt down. Like, there was a swinging bunt that Snell had to field that skipped to Freddie over at first, and I was like, that 7, 8, 9 crew, just disrupt his rhythm. Somebody do something to get Snell off of his game, because he was in cruise control. And if Yamamoto's in cruise control, this lineup's good, but it's not the greatest lineup. How they win is through the power of each guy, each at bat, grinding down the pitcher. And there was no grinding down Snell. And I don't know if anyone yesterday would have grinded down Snell anyways. It just, it's a confidence that we have Freddie Peralta, our guy on the mound against Yamamoto. But despite the fact that the Dodgers had 7 hits, the defense played, they showed up, they got out of jams. You can't play that way 7 games against the Dodgers and not expect one of their guys to have Muncy almost did it. Let's be honest, Muncy almost broke that game open. And for I think we saw one of the craziest double plays in the history
ever
of Major League Baseball. But my thing was what the Brewers do is they take those moments. The next thing you know, they're right on you offensively, putting pressure on you, and it's like I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is not happening. I'm not seeing the Milwaukee Brewers that are manufacturing and putting pressure on the Dodgers after what was a huge turn of events. It should have been 5-0, and who knows who the Brewers are tossing out there. The main relievers that I know you guys have seen, because I saw it. You went Koenig into McGill or Uribe into McGill back in the 2-0 game against I think it was Priester. I forget who was against out in LA.
There's a bunch of questions about the bullpen and the uses of the bullpen. But I think, Parker, you got something?
No. I was just I was reposting and everything, but I was just going to say that play, gosh, the craziest play I've ever seen in October. But I mean, Marcus, when you look at the offense, 11 left on base for Dodgers specifically, I mean, I know, Ben, they were also getting to the at-bats, the styles of at-bats they were getting. You saw it in the Mookie walk that he drew the eventually game-winning run. What were you seeing just out of the offense in terms of how they saw that bullpen that we were just talking about?
Well, I thought they had some good at-bats last night. And I know Dave Roberts said that too when they asked him during the in-game interview. And at the time, they didn't have a hit. I think they had just the one Mookie walk or whatever. They hadn't really done much of anything. Or the Shohei walk, I should say. They hadn't done much of anything. And I texted it to you guys. They looked like they were having some at least comfortable at-bats, right? They weren't generating any offense. But, after having watched 4 games of dealing with Christopher Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo and, Shohei just looking as bad as we've ever seen him. This didn't feel like that last night, which sort of leads me to ask you, Ben, about, they go with the opener and, Ashby gets through a pretty easy inning, I would all things consider, in the first. Priester comes out and doesn't really have to deal with a whole lot of traffic, but any concern about having to go through the parade of bullpen guys after that to not get the result that you wanted?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because as I thought about the game flow, Ashby pitched 4 out of 5 games and hasn't been particularly great. In Game 5, he left 2 on for Chad Patrick to come in, who ultimately, I think, gave up the home run to Freddie Freeman yesterday. Chad Patrick as a rookie came in and was awesome in that series. But for Ashby, you get from a first inning perspective, the Cubs bombarded the Brewers in the first inning. 4 out of the 5 games, they scored a run at least and had a 3-run shot in one of the games. So I was very excited to get out of the first inning with no damage, because then, Priester pitched in Chicago and he had won 19 straight games this season. I think 12 or 13 of those were a decision, but they won 19 straight games when he pitched. And then he had to go to Chicago and it's through 40 pitches, was out through 2/3. He didn't even make it out of the first inning. So I think the idea was, like, if Ashby can get out, you knew you were going to see Priester. He was good, not great. I didn't think he was great, but he was good enough. And my worry is this Brewers pitching staff. If Freddie doesn't go deep and you got to go into this bullpen, it's a good bullpen. But when the Brewers have found trouble is when that bullpen gets over leveraged. And this lineup, this lineup is so different than what the Brewers faced. I mean, you were going Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Pajes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And then it was Kim rushing, like Conforto. Yep. Like, it was
great point.
Great point. I was very happy to obviously see them sweep, but I've watched a lot of Dodgers baseball, and this is the full. You got Muncy, Will Smith, both back. Teoscar didn't play in the 3-game series before the All-Star break, and obviously we know what Teoscar's done so far in the playoffs.
Outside of base running gaps. In the outfield.
Outside of the random, like, what the hell is he doing in right field? He's gonna give you some at bats that make. That's been the story of Teoscar, right? He'll do something in right field, and then the next inning pop a home run. And you're like, all right, that's why he's out there. He makes up for it. So I think it's just a little bit scary for me as someone who, like, loves watching West Coast baseball, to know that this isn't the Dodger team the Brewers faced in July. And from the contrary, as you see for the Brewers, Brandon Woodruff, longtime staple for the Brewers, came back, found, like, we needed another horse, and we don't have that extra horse right now. And so when I look at the starting staff of the Dodgers, it's really good, but I'm not going to lie. I was actually more scared of the Sanchez, Luzardo,
really?
brigade of Philly than I was the Dodgers. And maybe that was just a misfire by me, because I think right now what I saw from Snell, and I've always been a Yamamoto fan. Glasnow, I think it was Glasnow who pitched against Priester in that 2-0 game out in LA. I think either way, it was pick your poison. Whoever was playing the best baseball, both starting staffs I was scared of. I just decided in my head it was Philly that I was less confident in. And look at me now, sitting here talking about Blake Snell facing the minimum. He just faced the minimum.
It's pretty amazing, and that's what we love seeing. And we're going to see that. You're probably going to get something along those lines with all 4 of these guys, which is really nice to see. But my whole thing for this entire year was, especially because the Brewers were so hot through the summer, and just was at this high peak, just going out of July and into August, into September, it kind of dropped down. It almost felt like they peaked too early, whereas the Dodgers were in a situation where they never hit a peak. They were
Correct.
Always constantly 500 after the beginning of the season when they got this big lead. And now they're at this point right now, they're now 21-6 in the last 27 games. So Dodgers on a peak. Do you feel like the Brewers did peak a little bit too early, or is that just kind of me trying to figure something out?
No, I mean, like, it's been a conversation. My whole thing when that conversation came up is, look, this team won 8 straight games 3 times throughout the year. So obviously they won 14 games, and that set a franchise record, and that was a big talking point among people in the baseball community. But I'm wearing the jersey of Pat Murphy for a reason, because I truly do believe in his ability to motivate these players. And, like, you know, they just got out of the DS. You got to remember, from a Brewer standpoint, since 2018, Game 7, where the Dodgers took it, obviously, Craig Counsell and crew, they haven't won a playoff series. And so I think getting that monkey off the back, winning the playoff series, let's remember here, despite the fact that Blake Snell, and this is me going positive towards the end here, despite the fact that Blake Snell pitched as well as he did, you had a chance to win the ball game. You did. You had a chance to win the ball game. Now, I'd say it's not likely that if the Dodgers have 7 hits and you'd only have Caleb Durbin with the hit and then got caught on the pickoff attempt by Snell, you're not going to win ball games. But like, today is a new day, and I've seen enough Brewers baseball throughout the 162 and the playoffs. They were up 2-0, and they very easily could have crumbled in Game 5. But they didn't. They found a way to get here. So they deserve to be here. They deserve to have a home field advantage based off the way that they played throughout the entire season. Yes, was it as enticing of baseball in September? No, but obviously there's a natural, like, man, with the way they play, it's 162 games of mental warfare. It was a much needed break for this team. Now, the quicker turnaround going to Freddie to Yamamoto, like, this is a different ballgame. And so now we're really going to see what the 2025 Milwaukee Brewers are made of. Because I hate using this term. This is a must win. This is an absolute must win. You can't, 3 straight games on the road. You can't go down 0-2. We saw that even with the Phillies, right? Phillies came in and they took Game 3. Obviously a crazy end to Game 4, but it's just too tall of a task with the lineup that the Dodgers have. And again, this is a Dodger lineup that is so different, as we've mentioned. And I feel like, as you mentioned, from a peaking at the right time standpoint, all of the Dodgers players from Muncy to Will Smith, they'll start getting healthy at the right time, leading to that record that you said at this last half of the season or last month of the season. So it is it's one of those things where I only have confidence because of what I've seen and how they've battled in every situation. Don't get too high, don't get too low, believe in the manager. But this is a tall task when you're staring at Yamamoto after you went the minimum through 8. If they need to get Yamamoto in a spot where he gets his pitch count up, even if it doesn't mean that they're manufacturing runs, they have to get him out of the game and see different guys. Because as you guys know, if Yamamoto's locked,
no, it's basically at that point, if Yamamoto's locked in. So Ben, basically what I heard from you for this 24 minutes was how good the Dodgers were. So I really appreciate you coming on and telling us how good the Dodgers are. It made it very easy for me to just kind of sit back and be like, "Hey, tell us what we saw." That was
Christian Yelich doesn't have an RBI in the playoffs since 2018. That's the face of your franchise. Like, yeah. I'm on Yelich. If I see, guys, when you're watching this game,
we only got 30 seconds, just so keep it short. Yeah.
If Yelich dribbles a ground ball to first and second base, all 3 at bats, I might go crazy.
I want that on video. Can you please send that
on that note
after the video? Go
check out ESPN Milwaukee. You can check out Ben Brust. You can find him there on the Kyle Brust and Nortman show. We appreciate you hanging out with us this morning. Are pocket pancakes as good as they sound?
Is any pancake bad?
That's true. You know what?
That's a good way.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. Thanks to Ben Brust for hanging out with us. Thanks to LAX as always. Thanks to everybody in the chat for jumping in and participating. Stick around. Sedano and Cap Morning Extravaganza coming up here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. Parker Bell had to dip out to get everything set up for that one. But for Ben Brust, for Parker Bell, for Greg Bergman, I'm Marcus Grant. It's been the Blue Review on ESPN LA. We'll see you tomorrow, 6:30 to 6:55. Game 2 tonight, 5:08. Freddie Peralta versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Back tomorrow.
Let's go.
Talk all about it. See you then.
See ya.